So Jon Jones just knocked out Stipe Miocic at UFC 309. He defended the heavyweight title, and after the fight, he announced that he will not be retiring. He even hinted at a Tom Aspinall fight potentially being something to look forward to. I think that following a week of eating flack from fans, me included, and being flamed about ducking, it seems as though Jon Jones has reconsidered his position on avoiding Aspinall. I think it's because he felt really good out there with Stipe. Now, to be fair, Stipe is 42 years old, but Jon Jones looked quick on the feet and picked Stipe apart, where you would assume, even at 42, Stipe would have the advantage. And he also absolutely manhandled him on the ground as well. Now, we're going to talk about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, but that's not all, because we're also going to talk the co-main event, which saw Charles Oliveira survive a pretty scary 5th round against Michael Chandler in the co-main event. We're doing the full card recap, but we're going to start it off with the major fights. The main event first, and then work our way down the card to some of the other matchups. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. I want to get into this UFC 309 post-fight. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. It was the main event. I decided I'm going to drop a nice picture for you guys to see so you can feel the vibe as I talk about it. Listen, say what you want about Stipe being old. He still gave a very gutsy effort against Jon Jones. And on the feet, Stipe landed some pretty clean punches. Now, in round number 1, Stipe very early in the round seemed to catch Jones with a bit of a right hand. And both guys seemed a little clumsy in combination and kind of falling off balance a bit. What happened was, though, Jones gathered himself, found a couple shots, and then found his way to land an absolutely immaculate trip that put Stipe on his back. And Stipe, in the first round, on his back against Jon Jones, he was getting absolutely destroyed. He was getting elbowed in the face. I'll be honest, it looked like he was going to get knocked out. I have to give Stipe respect, because at 42, his durability is like essentially unmatched. I don't think most guys at heavyweight would have survived the Jon Jones elbows. Stipe Miocic is still one of the toughest dudes to walk the damn planet. So we have to give respect to the OG. Regardless of him maybe being a bit slower than he once was, he sat in there with Jones decently at the very least and survived a vicious Jon Jones. I would say Jon Jones' top control and ground and pound at heavyweight is completely different than the light heavyweight tail end. Like, if you look at Jon's early career in the UFC, he would wreck guys with ground and pound. Matt Hamill, the only fight that he has is a loss. He destroyed him with ground and pound, obviously a DQ. Guys like Brandon Vera, whose nose he destroys. Vladimir Matushenko, he's finishing off from the crucifix position. To some of you guys, you're like, who the hell are those guys? These are guys that Jon Jones destroyed on the ground leading up to becoming the champ. Now, as Jon Jones became champ, of course, he was able to beat fighters where they're best. But at heavyweight, Jones has gone to the wrestling a bit more, especially in the first round here against Stipe. I actually anticipated after the first round that Jones would probably just look to take this fight to the ground and wreck him there, because he was so much better on the ground. It was like, no way Stipe's going to make it much longer if he's getting tied up by Jon Jones. He was getting pounded on. At the end of round 1, he's getting destroyed. He was in the crucifix position for moments. And like, you could see Herb Dean was right there as Jones was dropping death elbows on him. And he's thinking, like, should I stop this fight? Stipe's getting beaten on. But what was actually really interesting is the rounds that followed, Jon Jones fought striking and using a jab, an educated jab, and a surprisingly quick jab. I think Jon Jones wanted to test himself in this fight on the feet a bit against Stipe, who was like a highly regarded and respected boxer in the UFC heavyweight division. And, you know, many years ago, Stipe was a Golden Gloves boxer. He's got a lot of knockouts at heavyweight. Yes, he's 42. Maybe he wasn't as quick as he once was, but Jon Jones shut Stipe out on the feet. Like, Stipe landed a couple of shots. In close range, he would be reaching for right hands, and Jones would counter him up. You can see straights that Jones landed there, buckling Stipe, busting him up. Stipe's face was beaten on. Jon Jones was picking him apart with a clean jab. Stipe's chasing, right? He would try to close the distance by rushing inside, and Jones was just way too quick with movement, would be able to disengage, work a jab, counter strike. But it's not just the boxing of Jones that got it done. He was fabulous with teep kicks right up the center. He was finding Stipe's body a lot. And actually, it seemed like Stipe was getting hurt from body shots. Like, I think Jon Jones, from teeping the body, really is what, like, started to dwindle down the Stipe Miocic gas tank. He lost that bit of oomph. He didn't have that same ability to burst and close the gap because he's so worried about Jones working really just a perfect teep kick up the center that seemed to shut him down. Now, we can look at Jon Jones. He didn't eye poke him at all. Did use his hands, right? Kept the hands out long, manages distance well using this, but didn't dig into the eyes at all. I don't think there was any uncalled eye pokes in this fight, which is a positive for Jon Jones, who's like been a notorious career eye poker. He worked educated jabs. He struck well from distance. He picked his shots nicely from range, and he started busting Stipe Miocic up, enough so where Stipe was trying to clinch up and close the gap with him. There was a couple of big shots that Stipe landed, but at no point in the fight was Jon Jones truly hurt. He got touched clean on the chin by Stipe, and I said this during the live stream. It's like the shots are not affecting him. The shots were doing nothing. Stipe was reaching with this right hand here. He was trying so hard to land it. He couldn't find it. And Jones busted him open. You can see the cut below his eye. Jones really hurt Stipe's eyes badly in this fight, specifically that right eye that you see busted up. He caught him with a big shot to the eye, and like you almost thought Stipe was going to go to a knee and quit, as Jon Jones is like giving Stipe Miocic a boxing lesson. This is the left hand that really hurt his eye. I believe this is the shot. And Stipe was like blinking it out, backing away. It was pure grit as he was like trying to throw big shots as Jones was thinking about going for the kill. Stipe's eye was absolutely a mess at the end. He got completely wrecked. And honestly, Stipe was very disappointed after the fight. You could see him sitting on the stool. Like, he was really upset. Stipe, I think, truly believed he could have beaten Jon Jones. And I think that even though Stipe was 42, it was still like a pretty good version of him. He's still a high caliber heavyweight. It's not like Stipe is getting washed by bottom end top 10 guys. The thing is, Jon Jones's precision is still as good as ever. His reflexes look extremely good. He was able to like slip out of the way of these Stipe flurries that he would look to throw. Stipe would reach so hard with the right hand, like loading everything into it, but he wouldn't be able to find it. It was just out of range. It would miss, and Jones would slightly move out of the way. And the ones that landed, Jones rolled with them so effortlessly, and none of the shots really cracked Jon Jones flush where it's like, whoa, Stipe hit him. And Jones jabs his face off, teeps the body, busts him open. Stipe's getting picked apart. He gets rocked by a big right hand in round number 3, and things really seem to be going bad. I mean, Stipe losing on the ground in round number 1, getting absolutely 10-8'd and destroyed, looking like he was 15 seconds away from a TKO ground and pound loss, to round 2, getting his face boxed off by Jon Jones and getting kicked in the body a ton, to round number 3, where Jones is rocking his shit, stumbles him with a big right hand. Jon Jones is showing power at heavyweight, stinging shots. Throughout Jones's career, a big gripe with him is he didn't have heavy hands. I'll be honest, at heavyweight, they look pretty damn heavy. He finished the fight with the perfect spinning body kick that dropped Stipe. Such a high-level technique for Jones to find that. It was just amazing. Like, he had already beaten Stipe's body up bad. Stipe was uncomfortable. Stipe was withering down at the time Jon Jones caught him with the spin body kick. But the fact that that was the shot that ended the fight, the spin kick to the body, and down goes Stipe Miocic, and Jon Jones TKOs him in the 3rd round with striking, I found it incredibly impressive. I know there's going to be some flack on Jones. Oh, Stipe was slow. He was old. He was touching him with a little bit of right hands. Like, you can see, that's about as clean as Stipe got with punches. Like, grazing right hands that he missed with. And I think it's because Jon Jones' reflexes are on point. His management of range is out of this world. We saw that with a stinging jab. On the feet, Jon Jones looked, I would say, as good as ever. He had Stipe Miocic completely confused in striking. Jon Jones looks sensational on the feet. Rocking Stipe is a big deal. Now you can say, oh, he pushed him with the hand there. Maybe he got in the eye there a little. Did he? Did he? I don't know. It didn't look like he got it all the way in the eye. I'm going to say Jon Jones was clean. He pushed off the face a lot. That's something Jon Jones does. And, you know, when he tied up in the clinch, he had a significant advantage. Stipe, again, chasing with these right hands. I was waiting for this picture. Round 2 and round 3, he was trying hard to land these rights, but Jones would slip effortlessly out of range, and Stipe was just simply caught chasing. You can see here, this is like a prime example, right? The Matador and the Bull. Stipe trying so hard to chase him down. The right hands just barely touching as Jones is moving out of the way. And Jon Jones was able to pick him apart. The spinning body kick is what put him down, but really the jab and the teeps are what won him the fight. Jon didn't try to just wrestle fuck Stipe. He wanted to test himself on the feet. He busted up the former heavyweight champ. He got touched a bit. This was a clean little shot that Stipe landed on the inside, but Jones was effortlessly rolling with shots. Head kick up high even from Jones that Stipe blocked, but you know he felt the force. Like Stipe was getting gun shy on the feet because Jones was absolutely hurting him. It was a sensational performance. I'm just going through the pictures to see if we have the perfect shot. Stipe chasing. I want to see if we have the body kick. I don't think that it's posted, but it was a perfect spin kick to the body that put Stipe out of there. You can see Jon Jones and Chandler there. This is the motherfucking man right here. Jon Jones is still that guy. Spin body kick to finish it after he was absolutely wrecking Stipe with hands and teeps up the center. Stops him in round 3. Down goes Stipe and still champ Jon Jones. And I think he honestly couldn't have won it more impressively. Like he could have finished Stipe with ground and pound, but then the questions would be all about his stand-up. But the fact that we got to see him strike and we got to see him shine on the feet, to me, is what made the night so damn special. But we don't just have pictures of the fight. We have a Jon Jones interview clip that I felt was a must play, okay? Because it all really came down to what was going to happen next. We all wanted to know. Joe Rogan asked the question that we needed an answer for, and Jon Jones was asked, following this fight, are you going to retire? What's next? Let's listen to Jon Jones, what he said.
I decided that maybe I will not retire, and that I have some conversations to have with Dana and Hunter, and we have some negotiating to do. And if everything goes right, maybe we'll give you guys what you want to see.
Ooh. So Mr. Duck, and listen, I have been flacking Jon Jones a lot for ducking Tom Aspinall all week, but I did say yesterday or the day before now, Friday, maybe it's a negotiation tactic. I think it was actually Thursday where I did that video. Maybe it's a negotiation tactic where Jon Jones is in a sense playing the game. Like, yeah, I'm not going to fight Tom Aspinall. I want to fight Pereira. I want to fight X, Y, and Z. Because he knows if he plays that game with the UFC, they're going to absolutely pay. But I also think that Jon Jones truly made his mind up that he has interest in continuing his fighting career after Stipe Miocic and him faced off, because he had to feel what it was like to take on a true heavyweight like Stipe and how it all went. If he would have went out there and maybe felt slow as molasses on the feet, stiff as hell, getting stung up by big shots, then maybe he would have rethought taking on Tom Aspinall next. But because the fight went so dominantly in his favor and he really didn't eat any damage, he got hit a couple of times, he's like, I want to fight Aspinall. Let's find out if I still got it. And I'm not so sure that him and Tom Aspinall is like a complete wipeout of a fight. I said to myself, I will be able to decipher how a fight between Jones and Aspinall will look following this, following UFC 309. And I'll tell you, Jon Jones is 1,000% live in a fight with Tom Aspinall, especially if he ties up with Tom and gets him to the ground. Because I still think Jon Jones is a significantly better wrestler than Aspinall. As good as the jiu-jitsu is of Tom Aspinall, as much hype as he has for his ground skills, he's still a British man. And the Brits are not high-level wrestlers compared to Americans. Fact. On the feet, I think Aspinall's quicker, Aspinall's more powerful. But Jon still is very long. Jon is going to have a massive reach advantage in that fight. 6.5-inch reach advantage. Though Tom Aspinall is 6'5", an inch taller than Jon Jones, and he's going to outweigh him. He's going to be the bigger dude. Jones is significantly longer. And I'm very interested to see how the boxing looks between those two as they potentially face off. It's going to be a super interesting 2025. I think the heavyweight belt is going to be on the line sooner than later because I think the UFC is going to come to an agreement with Jones and we're going to get to have the mega fight Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones put together. And I, for one, am so damn excited, and you should be excited as hell too. It was a great main event. I think it brought Jon Jones' stock back up. I think it was a good thing that the week was rocky for him and things looked ugly. And we all kind of lost faith in Jon Jones as a fighter and thought maybe he didn't have it anymore. Maybe he didn't have it here anymore. Well, I think that he truly does. And I expect Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall to happen. And I truly think that the UFC will offer him a bag beyond bags to get this massive fight set up. It's the biggest fight the UFC can book right now. I know the hype was the the Pereira versus Jones fight. Oh, casuals say, oh, we want to see it. No. Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones is the true baddest man on the planet fight, and I want to find out who is the baddest. Pereira's a cool fight, but Pereira will get absolutely killed on the ground with Jon Jones. Tom Aspinall has high-level jiu-jitsu. Tom Aspinall is a powerful striker. Tom Aspinall is taller than Jon Jones. He's heavier than Jon Jones, and I want to see how Jon Jones, even at 37, fares against somebody that might be the next great heavyweight. I want to find out, and I am thankful that Jon Jones was confident here. And now Tom Aspinall said something interesting. I don't have the clip for it. It was on ESPN. Tom Aspinall said that as Jon Jones is giving an interview, Dana White and Hunter look at him, wink and point, pretty much saying, hey, I think we're going to be able to make something happen between you and Jon Jones. They gave him a hint without saying anything that the super fight is actually going to come to fruition, and we should all be celebrating, man. So W's in the comments for an absolutely badass UFC 309 main event and a very legit chance that we get to see the fight. The hardcores want to see it. The casuals want to see it. There's like a 2% of the fans that have this delusion about seeing Pereira fight Jones. There's no chance for Pereira there. He's going to get taken down and killed. But Tom Aspinall, there is a chance. And that's the true heavyweight unification bout that I think we all need, we all want, and I think in 2025, we're all going to see. So congrats to Jon Jones with a mega win. Stipe, respect to him going out like a savage. I mean, he gave it as much as he could. It's just Jon Jones is that motherfucker. There's levels in this game, and Jon Jones is that good. Stipe, 42. I think Stipe in his prime would have lost to Jon Jones too. I want to say I'm not just using the age as why Jones won. I think Stipe would always struggle against Jon Jones, but tough as nails, Stipe gave it hell at 42. He lost to a Jon Jones, who I think at heavyweight has better ground and pound. I think he hits harder. Jon Jones might have been a better heavyweight than light heavyweight, which is like kind of a scary thought. Because at 37, he's looking clean in the heavyweight division. Stipe retired after the fight, so I want to wish Stipe a happy retirement. We should all be, proud of Stipe for a legacy. Because you know what, man? He was a badass he was a badass heavyweight. Losing to the light heavyweight GOAT in Jon Jones, that GOAT of MMA, not a bad look for the, really most dominant heavyweight champ ever in the UFC. I got to give Stipe some love and respect. He gave it hell, but Jon Jones was the one. Congrats to Jones. That was the UFC 309 main event. I do want to talk about all of the other fights on the card. Of course, we still had an absolutely banging co-main event, which we're going to bring up next and talk about. It was between none other than Charlie O and Michael Chandler. I'll tell you this. Charles Oliveira worries me a bit. He won the fight, but Michael Chandler gave him hell in round number 5. He rocked Charles Oliveira bad. Now, there was a ton of back of the head shots that were not called by abysmal referee Keith Peterson. I don't know what the hell he was looking at. It's like Chandler landed numerous back of the head shots. It wasn't even just like the exchange in round 5 and the ground and pound. Even in round 1, from the bottom, Chandler's punching Oliveira in the back of the head. But it was at worst in round 5 as Oliveira gets rocked, Chandler unloading on him and just dropping 7-8 shots to the back of the head with no warning from the referee. It's like the fight could have ended, and then, Charles Oliveira tragically loses from an unfortunate circumstance, and maybe the fight's then overturned. But thankfully, that didn't happen. But what I worry for is the safety of the fighter. Getting hit in the back of the head can fucking kill a fighter. I mean, look at Pritchard Colon in boxing. I'm sorry to, mention a guy who got essentially crippled from fighting, but he was getting hit with back of the head shots in boxing, and it cost him pretty much his life. He's still alive, but he's handicapped now. And I know it's a stretch to say that those shots from Chandler could have handicapped Oliveira, but like the referee needs to do his fucking job. And Keith Peterson absolutely didn't. I don't think he should be refereeing main events anymore. I think he should actually be reprimanded because these are some bombs to the back of the head that Michael Chandler was landing. Now, Charles Oliveira was able to overcome a rough round number 5 and ends up getting the back of Michael Chandler, taking him down late, controlling. If we tell the story of round 1, 2, 3, and 4, it was Charles Oliveira. He landed good shots on the feet. He would time takedowns, put Chandler on his back, take his back, and control him. Chandler showed a lot of gusto in the fight, though. As much as I give Chandler shit in the lead up to the fight, and then him talking crazy on the mic and being cringy at times, it's usually pretty funny, and he's unintentionally hilarious. I think at the end, Chandler got a lot of respect for standing up with Oliveira backpacking him and twice going back and like slamming him backwards, trying to shake him off. He got up not once, but twice and did that, which I think is pretty badass. Charles Oliveira was better than Michael Chandler. On the feet, he was cleaner. He was more accurate with his shots. Listen, guys, 3:11 a.m. I'm sorry if I'm slurring a bit. He was more accurate with his hands, landing cleaner shots. He was calm. He was patient. He actually didn't like exchange in a brawl too much throughout the fight. He was a lot more composed than their first fight. He got caught a bit. Obviously, in the 5th round, he was hurt, but up until the 5th round, he was actually cleanly outstriking Chandler and avoiding Chandler's big bombs, picking him up with good shots, keeping him down the center, taking him to the ground. He out-wrestled Michael Chandler, which I thought was really impressive. He was able to control, got close to some rear naked strangles, unable to pull it off. I think it was a pretty good performance by Charles Oliveira in beating, an absolute psychopath in Michael Chandler. But it was not a win that has me feeling any bit confident that his fight against Makhachev would go different. I think that Charles Oliveira would lose to Islam Makhachev again. Now, he called for the title shot, and it seems like the UFC's pushing it because Joe Rogan mentioned title shot for him next. I don't think that Charles Oliveira necessarily deserves a title fight. I actually think they should do a BMF fight between him and Max Holloway. Even if this might have been a subpar performance with Chandler in round 5, he was dominant in rounds 1 through 4. And I think there's still interest, at least from my side, in a fight between him and Holloway. I know it's a bit of a reach maybe because Holloway coming off a really bad loss to Elliott Topuria, and maybe Charles Oliveira is next in line for the title, but he could be waiting a while. I mean, 312 coming up in February, where Sarukian's going to fight Makhachev. I don't know how much of a layoff Charlie O wants. I guess maybe if things go well and Sarukian and Makhachev face off without any controversy or anything, maybe Charles Oliveira could return this summer and then fight the winner, which I don't think is out of the question because his fight against Arman Sarukian was a literal coin flip that could have essentially gone either way. And if Sarukian wins, there's interest in that rematch. Obviously, fans still want to see Oliveira again versus Makhachev, but I just don't love how he looked in the 5th round. And with Makhachev, you're not going to have the option to take him down. So if you get stung up on the feet, you're probably getting finished off. And I think Oliveira versus Makhachev 2 goes similar. I'm sorry. I'm a Charles Oliveira fan too. I love Charlie O, but I just got to tell it as it is. I don't think that he'll thrive or shine, as Michael Chandler would say. He's going to thrive. He's going to go out and do his thing. Nah, I think he's going to lose. Now, as for Michael Chandler, I have to give him some praise because he gave a gutsy effort against Charles Oliveira. He was shut out for the first 4, and then he comes back and does well in the 5th. That deserves respect for not giving up on yourself. And after the fight, he cut a sensational promo calling out either Max Holloway for the BMF belt, which is something that I'd be down to witness. I think it'd be a really cool fight. Or Conor McGregor. I don't know if Conor McGregor is ever coming back. At this point, it's a pipe dream to see Conor McGregor do fights again. He seems to be focused on like hyping up BKFC and just being like the entertainment at those events. I know he's technically, partial owner of BKFC, but he's kind of like he's the hype man there. He's the psychotic, exciting promoter who just brings chaos to the fans, which is fun. I mean, that's his thing. He's doing a good job doing it. I guess stepping in the damn cage with Michael Chandler, it seems like a difficult task for Conor, especially a Conor who knows how committed he is to the game. And even though Chandler got shut out by Oliveira for the most part, I think that Michael Chandler would probably have a lot of success against Conor McGregor. And I used to hold out hope for Conor, and I was like, nah, I think he could get Chandler. I don't know now, man. even though Chandler lost this fight, at least he got back in the cage, getting his footing back again. He took a couple years off. That's not good. You want to stay active, especially when you're pushing it towards 40. Activity is everything to be able to maintain high-level performances, and I think that's exactly where Chandler's at now. He needs to fight more often. So if Conor McGregor, it's not going to happen next, then you know what? Throw that out the window. Get Chandler, either, a Max Holloway is somebody that comes to mind. I'm sure there's other names that the UFC could come up with. I don't think anybody would be disappointed in watching him run it back with Gaethje. I just don't know for sure if that's something the UFC would be interested in doing, right? Because Chandler is on a 2-fight losing streak. A BMF title shot, though, after 2 losses in a row, doesn't make a ton of sense. The Conor McGregor fight makes a lot of sense. That's the one they should probably go down. We'll see if the UFC does it, but mainly let's see if Conor signs a contract. Either way, Chandler outgunned in the first 4, and I was thinking he maybe looked worse than ever. But in round 5, he looked like a savage. He was trying to be composed, but maybe his composure is what actually cost him the fight. He should have just went out crazier in round 1. Maybe he would have had a better chance of catching Charlie O, but he was more relaxed than ever. I've never seen Chandler so patient with picking his strikes. Maybe that's what cost him those first 4 rounds, because he didn't turn it on. Could have been the ring rust too. But it's also Charles Oliveira has 1,000% improved since their first meeting. And Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira go the full distance, which was a surprise. I thought this fight was going to end inside of the distance. And Charles Oliveira, the rightful winner, survives a late storm and flurry from Chandler and some big back of the head shots. But ultimately, the better fighter wins. Chandler gets his back taken and controlled at the end, but he wins the fans over with slamming Oliveira backwards. And it was a gutsy effort either way, but he was completely outclassed for a vast majority of the fight. Besides, a couple massive moments in round 5. Oliveira is still the guy. He might be fighting for the title next. We'll see what the UFC does. I wouldn't be disappointed if he was. That's really what I'm alluding to here. And for Michael Chandler, fun fights. Hopefully a Conor fight. We shall see. That was the co-main event. Now, to run through the rest of the card, I want to keep on working my way down. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like. We're just going to go in backwards order for this. So, Bo Nickal, Paul Craig. Man, Bo Nickal's eating a lot of shit for this, but 7th pro fight, he 30-27's Paul Craig. To be fair, it's really not an awful performance. He went out there and he outstruck Paul Craig for 3 rounds, and he hurt Paul Craig a couple of times. He couldn't shut Paul's lights off, but does that mean Bo Nickal got fraud checked? Did Bo Nickal get fraud checked versus Paul Craig and winning? I don't think so. Bo Nickal didn't look like an absolute wrecking ball. He didn't look like he's ready for the title. But 7th pro fight as a prospect, eliminate if it's Bo Nickal. If it's just a prospect, you're probably oh, you just beat Paul Craig. That's pretty good. Pick Craig apart on the feet, rocked him a bit. Fight never hit the ground. There was no takedowns attempted. Shows the respect that Bo Nickal has for Craig's jiu-jitsu, which I think was smart. Paul Craig's ultimately a stiff striker, but he still's got nasty kicks. He's pretty tall. He's hard to hit for Bo Nickal, who's still figuring the game out. Bo Nickal's got a bit of power in those overhands, but I will say, it took him a while to set them up. Then he started working body shots, which then opened up success to the head strikes. I'll be honest, if Bo Nickal would have worked the body more in the first round, as opposed to just looking for gunslinging bombs in round number 1, I actually think there's a real chance that Bo Nickal would have been able to knock Paul Craig out. Because in round 3, he was starting to land some hammers, and he was beating Paul Craig up. He busted him open. But I think that a little too late, right? Round 1, if he worked the body a bit more, I think he would have found the kill sooner. Paul Craig, gutsy performance and loss, but he got picked apart on the feet. It was Nickal all day, 30-27. The crowd was chanting overrated. It's how much flack can we give the guy for 30-27ing a UFC vet like Paul Craig? This was the gatekeeper test that Bo Nickal passed. Did he go out and finish it? No. But he picked him apart. He fought where he's normally least comfortable, which is striking. And he landed good shots. He rocked Paul Craig. I don't think it was a bad performance. I think Bo Nickal's just eating a lot of shit from haters, unfortunately. And that's just how it's going to go. Bo Nickal's got a lot of haters. But he's not bad. At 28, he's still developing 7 pro fights. We're not rushing him to a ranked opponent next. Keep it around the lower levels. I think that's a good strategy. Keep giving him fun fights. And slowly but surely, I think he can work his way up a little bit higher. And I think Paul Craig is, tricky fight with his jiu-jitsu thread. He beat a lot of good guys. He beat Magomed Ankalaev at one point. Sure, he's not that good anymore. Sure, he's not a great striker. But for a 7-0 Bo Nickal to go out there and win all 3 rounds, outstriking him the whole time, I think it's a solid accolade for a developing young fighter. Bo Nickal's talented. Bo Nickal's athletic. And I think Bo Nickal's good. Now, talk about prospects. In the fight before, a lot of you are going to scream robbery. But as somebody that scored it live, I actually am not surprised they gave it to Araujo. Now, I did say, personally, I thought Silva could have got it 2-1. But I was very, very, very adamant on the fact that I thought round 2 was essentially a coin flip. And judges a lot of the time are going to score the end of the round as opposed to what happened before. Like, yeah, Silva shooting for the Darce choke was cool. She was trying to lock up something, but there was really nothing on it. Like, it wasn't really that close. It just looked close. And then Araujo gets on top, finishing the round, doing some work. And it's not like Silva looked any bit good in round 3. Karine Silva looked like a busted prospect in round 3, falling to her back left and right, looking like a lazy jiu-jitsu fighter. I'll be honest with you. I don't even care about the second round or whichever way you had it, if you want to call it a robbery. For the division, like Karine Silva winning, worse off. I hate the styles where these fighters fall to their back and like essentially give away the third round. And it's like, oh, but I won the first 2. Did you though? And I don't think that it was a sure thing that Silva won the second. And that's why Araujo gets it. It wasn't even a split decision. All 3 judges scored at 29-28 Araujo. So Karine Silva, say what you want. Oh, she should have got it. I don't know. I could have gave her 2-1. But she's a busted prospect either way because fighters who fall to their back are not fighters that I like to back with any confidence. They're not fighters that I like to hype up at all. I hate that style. Viviane Araujo was really tough in this fight. Karine Silva landed some big punches. So, you know what? Maybe it was a bad decision. Am I going to go back and fucking rewatch this fight? I'm not going to go back and rewatch it probably until I got to do tape on these ladies for the next fight. It's just how it goes. Was it the robbery of the century? I don't think so. It was too close to call. It was competitive. And ultimately, Viviane Araujo gets it on the decision. Silva in round 3 shouldn't be falling to her damn back because you never know. You leave it to the judges, who the fuck knows? And that's what happened. And that's why she was the loser. Either way, Araujo, crafty vet, takes out a talented prospect. Listen, not all the Silvas are going to run it up to being top contenders. We had it last fight for Araujo versus Natalia. Karine Silva had to be stifled. That's how the game goes. Unfortunate L. A lot of people's parlays lost now. And look at that, 93% of the picks. Big odds, too. Karine Silva was supposed to be the one. And busted prospect AF. Say what you want. Oh, whatever, the decision. But forget it. Even if she would have won the decision, busted prospect, she's falling to her back in round 3. Looking like a schlep. Bad performance. And she loses the fight. And I'm not going to stand here and be shameful and say robbery for a fighter laying on their back at the end, not even fighting with grit. Fuck no. Fight before. Oh my gosh. Our main card opener, Mauricio Ruffy, James Llontop. Mauricio Ruffy is the great value Conor McGregor. He's the Brazilian Conor McGregor knockoff. Listen, he's got the techniques like the young Conor. He doesn't have the precision like the young Conor. He doesn't have the speed like the young Conor. And he's got the gas tank like the recent version of Conor because he was tired in round 3. He lost the 3rd round against James Llontop. Now, I understand Llontop coming in, short notice, overweight. This fight's at catchweight. There was a lot of bad things that happened, right, that kind of went against Ruffy leading into this. But Llontop was tough as fuck. He took some bombs. Ruffy was beating his ass in the first 2 rounds. It looked like he was going to get a knockout. He dropped Llontop multiple times, rocked him with straights, rocked him with hooks. Like, Llontop is limping all over the place. But the dude's chin is unreal. Like, Llontop deserves another fight for the UFC because he stepped in on short notice and he absolutely ate hell from Mauricio Ruffy. I want to see him get another fight. And in that 3rd round, he was putting pressure on Ruffy, backing him up, touching him with shots, making him uncomfortable. Ruffy still was clean. And after the fight, though, Ruffy calls out Benoit Saint-Denis. Is that the fight for him? A win like that in that close of a fashion? Now we're going to give him Benoit? We're going to bless him? The fuck are we talking about? I don't think so. You don't go from James Llontop to Benoit Saint-Denis. But maybe because he's on Fighting Nerds, he will. I still think Ruffy's a good prospect. I will say, I think that Llontop being, 166.2 and this fight getting moved up to catchweight when Ruffy was ready as fuck to make 155 gave Llontop the durability to survive some absolutely thunderous shots. But regardless, Ruffy's gas tank is something we have to question. Guys that throw really hard early, a la Conor McGregor, they gas late. And it's not a good look, man, because there's some guys with good chins at lightweight that can survive a storm, and you're not going to put everybody out. And if you're going to have a hard time in a 3-rounder, imagine in a 5-rounder. How's this fight between Llontop and Ruffy going in a 5-rounder? Even with the weight miss and whatever. You get what I'm saying? So I think there's a little bit of a worry that I have around Ruffy. If you're a big Ruffy backer, especially betting-wise forthcoming, like, bro, you better write down Ruffy, sus cardio. Sus cardio. Either he puts you out or he starts to fatigue. In a 3-round fight, he can win the first 2. But in a 5-round fight, I don't know. I worry about Ruffy moving on up. Like, I imagine he takes on a guy with a pretty good chin. Let's say it's Benoit Saint-Denis. Bust him up in the first 2. And then he's choked out in round 4. You get where I'm coming from? Because Llontop having success in that last round. Listen, maybe Llontop, right, missing the weight, coming in and doing the catch weight, maybe it gave him every advantage. Maybe Ruffy still is that motherfucker. But what I saw from Ruffy is a really talented guy who's pretty good. But there are holes. And there's things to worry about as he moves up the ranks. To be fair, Llontop's got one of the best chins in the game, and I think it would be a shame if they cut a 25-year-old with this exciting of a style and this much toughness. Yes, he needs to fine-tune some things, but Ruffy was a really difficult fight for him, and unfortunately, you're not going to get past the Ruffy. And I'm glad, though, that Ruffy still won, because if he would have lost to Llontop with all these unforeseen circumstances pre-fight, that would have been pretty fucked up. The hype on Ruffy still stands. He'll continue to move up the ranks, but let's chill for a second. Let's pump the brakes. Let's not give him Benoit Saint-Denis. Let's give him somebody unranked, and let's see how he does. Let's get him out there, against a 55 or not a 65-pound match. And let's see. Maybe the knockout power is that good. Maybe it was just an off night. Maybe Llontop's just that tough. I want to find out for sure. Good win for Ruffy, but damn, good chin for Llontop. The fight before, which closed out the prelims, it was a competitive one between Martinez and Marcus McGhee. The first 2 rounds, Marcus McGhee won. I mean, it was pretty clean. Late in round 2, though, Martinez was having success with kicks, and he touched McGhee up a bit. But round 1, oh my gosh, he shut Martinez out completely. Round 2 was close. McGhee did a little more with his hands, landed more strikes, higher level of volume, but still was getting hurt by leg kicks. In round 3, though, Marcus McGhee's legs were destroyed. There was couple moments where I was worried that Marcus McGhee was going to fall down. I was worried he's going to go and just grab his leg and say, I'm good. This Martinez dude's kicking skills are next level. I'm not ready for it. Martinez's leg kicks are crazy. Martinez did some serious damage to McGhee's leg in round number 3, but a little too late, right? Too little, too late. And at one point, Martinez is controlling against the cage. I'm like, dog, you need a finish, like most likely. Don't control against the cage in a competitive fight. Round 2, I think, was a relatively competitive one, but McGhee got it on all 3 judges' scorecards, and he landed way more strikes. Martinez's leg kicks, though, were so crisp at the end of round 2. So round 3, like, you never know how they're scoring the first 2. I felt round 3 was the decider, but ultimately, Martinez winning round 3 didn't do enough. The judges scored round 1 and 2 for McGhee. I'm not trying to say that it was a robbery or anything. I just thought the second round was kind of close with how it finished for Martinez. But round number 3 was Martinez all the way. So round 1 was a shutout for McGhee. Round 3, a shutout from Martinez. Not a great finish for McGhee, but to be fair, Jonathan Martinez has the most clean leg kicks in the damn bantamweight division. I mean, he's gotten finishes with these damn leg kicks. So you got to respect Jonathan Martinez's game. He's a pretty quality fighter. But Marcus McGhee's hands are clean, man. He's so quick. Just those leg kicks of Martinez almost got him out of there. If it's a 5-round fight, I'm favoring Jonathan Martinez, which is pretty crazy. We'll see where Marcus McGhee goes. I mean, now it's top 15 test only. We'll see what happens. I don't know how high he makes it at 34. But, Martinez is tough. He's a tough out. Those leg kicks are clean. He picks his shots nicely. Not the highest fight IQ, though, clinching up at the end. Still a gutsy effort, though, by Martinez. He's always hard to count out. McGhee, he does technically pass the test, but bad last round. The fight before, old man Jim Miller somehow turns back the clock and strangles Damon Jackson. It's funny, I said on Friday's prediction show, the only way I see Jim Miller is first round ghillie when they're dry. And look at that. Jim Miller locks up the ghillie on Damon Jackson. And at 41, he said he wants to fight 5 more times. 45 UFC fights, he wants to make it 50. We got to give Jim Miller his respect, yo. I know Cormier a long time ago said he doesn't deserve Hall of Fame status. Fuck that. Who stays on the roster for that long? Jim Miller's a gangster, and I want to see more Jim Miller. He got this fight done pretty quick. I'm sure he'll be ready to turn around before like March. So let's get him back fighting as soon as possible because he is 41. I'd like to see him get at least 2 fights before he's 42. And if he really wants to make that run to 5 more fights, I mean, it's a possibility that he hits 50 fights in the UFC, which is insane. Not really, taking losing streaks. He'll lose one and then win a couple. And if you keep giving him guys that are, not towards the elite caliber, but guys that are, decent enough, Jim Miller, he can exploit holes in a lot of dudes' games. And what's crazy is Miller's in his 40s. Damon Jackson is the one that retired after. I was surprised. Damon Jackson didn't want to do a post-fight interview after the loss. That was unfortunate. 6 submission by Jim Miller. Absolute gangster. And for me, that's a performance of the night bonus winner. I think so. I mean, Jon Jones got one. Oliveira, Chandler got fight of the night. I thought we could have gave it to Jim Miller, but it went to fighters that won earlier in the night. Let's talk the fight before. David Onama, Roberto Romero. This one was a little worrisome. First round, Romero actually dropped David Onama. Now, late in round number 1, Onama turned the clock back and dropped Roberto Romero. Competitive fight, though. I mean, Romero had a lot of success with leg kicks. He landed some big shots over the top. Round 2, fairly competitive, but Onama still ahead. Round 3, David Onama still trying to put it on Romero, dropping some big shots on him. He definitely took that fight like all day. I don't think anybody's doubting that. It was a unanimous decision. But he got tested a bit. In round 1 getting dropped, that was a big moment, especially for Romero coming in on just a few days' notice. I thought that was really impressive for him to take this short notice spot and give Onama a real run for his money. Because like in round 1, it looked like Romero was about to finish him. He had his back at one point. It was crazy. Then Onama turned up, rocked Romero a bit, picked him apart. And Onama's pretty explosive and clean with his striking. Finished round 3 pretty dominantly with a good win. And, caps another W in the books. But Romero on short notice, I respect him a lot. Good addition to the UFC. Tough Mexican dude, crazy chin. Onama puts a lot of people out with his power. And to see him rock like that, Romero, shit, he gets my respect. On a short notice call up to bang with Onama like that, Romero is definitely somebody to keep the eyes on because he's an absolute gamer and the dude's tough as hell. This fight was also at 55 when both these guys are normally featherweights, obviously because of the short notice. I think that it doesn't hurt Onama's stock per se, but like it limits my interest in seeing him fight somebody ranked next. I don't think he's ready for a ranked guy. I actually think this rebooked the Lucas Almeida fight. That makes a lot of sense. For Romero, some fun debuting guy or an 0-1 guy. Fight before, Marcin, Tybura, Jhonata, Diniz. I think this was an exposure of fight IQ here. Diniz had Tybura badly hurt in the first, 30 seconds of the fight. And what does Diniz decide to do? Let's go to the ground with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Pure amateur move. And then Tybura is able to reverse him, get on top, finish round 1, dominating. Round 2, get it to the ground, dominate. And Jhonata Diniz was getting his ass kicked. Huge elbows late in round 2. I think the doctor's stoppage was fair because it looked like Diniz was completely out of it as he rose to his feet. He was completely gone. He was like this. And honestly, I don't even think it's illegal for your corner man to pick you up. I thought that the fighter is supposed to get up off their own will. And if they can't, then the fight's going to be stopped. I think if the corner man hadn't got in and lifted him up, I think that Herb Dean would have ended up having to stop that fight because I don't think Diniz would have been able to get up to his feet on his own after those ground and pound shots from Tybura. So big fraud check here. Diniz, low fight IQ. Huge striking moment, decides to follow the jiu-jitsu black belt on the ground. And a white belt versus a black belt on the ground, the black belt wins 10 times out of 10, unless it's like Khamzat Chimaev or something, who's like a high-caliber wrestler. Diniz, unfortunately, one of those kickboxers, man, that just gets exposed by the better grapplers, man. It's just how the game goes. Big shots early, but Tybura, crafty vet, is able to beat him. And Jhonata Diniz, unfortunately, checked as a prospect, man. Damn. Looking for these heavyweight strikes to start coming together. It just ain't happening. Fight before, Ramiz Brahimaj ends Mickey Gall's UFC career. Brahimaj drops him with a massive right hook. Gall looked okay early. He was landing some straights, but like Brahimaj was jacked and in way better shape. Mickey Gall's 7-7 in the UFC now. I think that he's getting released. 7-7 as a pro. Coming into the UFC way too early, man. He had no easy test. That's how it goes. He had the CM Punk thing that built his stock early on and now taking a lot of L's. Brahimaj wanted it bad. He came in great shape. He looked absolutely jacked, and he dropped Gall viciously and knocked him out in the first round. Brahimaj looked as powerful as I've ever seen. I think that bringing the OG gloves back for the pay-per-views is a great thing, and I hope we just switch to the OG gloves altogether, because I think those new gloves were just non-optimal. I know they're keeping them for fight nights to close out the year as like the final test, but I think 2025, they're probably going to get rid of those new gloves altogether and just rock with the OG gloves forever. Brahimaj, violent win, and I think that Gall's out of the UFC, and I definitely think it was the best Brahimaj looked physically and the best he looked on the feet ever. He looked really powerful. Fight before, Oban Elliott, Bassil Hafez. Oban Elliott absolutely wrecked Bassil Hafez. I thought that Oban would look good, but he looked better than I thought. Oban Elliott slept Bassil Hafez, dropped him with the straight, the beautiful right hand, I guess technically over the top right hand, and some ground and pound. Bassil Hafez was getting outstruck though. Oban Elliott was too clean, too fast, too precise. Hafez normally just throws wild bombs, and like Oban Elliott was too wise with it. He picks his shots nicely. I'm telling you, man, this performance for Oban Elliott, I'm going to reiterate this point. Oban is an absolute gangster that is on the come up and somebody that is going to be ranked in the UFC. He's literally 26. Contender Series win, now 3 UFC wins for him. And something that I think everybody can agree to is you watch him against Khalik Brito on Contender Series versus Hafez. Now, he has gotten substantially better after each and every fight. He comes out better every single time. The stock on Oban Elliott will continue to rise. And the fact that he got a violent knockout, it tells me these UFC gloves need to be stuck with the OGs because it's better. And bro, his fight IQ is good. His accuracy is good. His timing is good. He's well-rounded. The Welsh gangster's a problem, and at 26 years old, I swear he can go far in this game. I really think that Oban Elliott's a future top 15 guy, and I'm very excited to see what he can do against some of the better guys in the weight class. He's only 26, so no reason to rush him up the ranks, but over the next 2 years, I swear, Oban Elliott is going to make a splash in this welterweight division. For Bassil Hafez, bad loss, but you don't cut him. Overrated power for sure. He's a big jack dude, so he's like known as a power hitter, but he's not really that heavy-handed. He's got some sting. He throws hard shots, but he's not like a clean power puncher. He's more of like a volume punching type of fighter. And when you really think about it, with Bassil Hafez, like the Jack Della debut was just perfect timing, and he looked freakishly jacked in that fight. He don't look like that anymore. Something interesting. And then, beating Gall, but not knocking him out. Seeing Gall's chin get absolutely destroyed by Brahimaj. You got to question if Bassil Hafez really's got much power or if it was just overrated hype because of a solid performance in a debut. Kind of like a, I don't want to say, first time's a charm, beginner's luck type of thing, but he came in on short notice and he gave a tough fight to Jack Della. He looked more jacked back then. I don't know. Interesting notes. But Bassil Hafez, still a fun guy to keep around. It's just Elliott's got top 15 potential, and Hafez is more of like a fun mid-caliber guy. I want to see more Hafez, though. Don't cut him. And the first fight of the night, this was a pick flip for me. I started the night off with flipping the pick following the weigh-ins. Eduardo Mora, clean decision win over Veronica Hardy. Was able to outwork her in the striking, was able to land takedowns and control. Mora looked really strong. She looked great at 125. I hate that she's still considering dropping back down to 115 and bouncing between the weight classes. No, Eduardo Mora, you are a large women's flyweight. Just stick there. You'll do better. Veronica Hardy's got a high fight IQ. She's pretty good. It's just Mora was a specimen. She looked good on the feet. She looked strong on the ground. And she was able to rack off a dominant decision. She did well everywhere the fight went. Never got hurt or anything like that. Hardy had a couple striking moments. Not really. Mora had some striking moments and hit Hardy with the harder shots. Landed some takedowns. Garnered some control time. And Eduardo Mora won this fight for sure. I thought she deserved it at the end. And seeing how good she looked on the scales, I'm very grateful that I flipped the pick on that one. That was the first fight of the night. I hope you guys enjoyed the full card recap. I'm not done yet, but make sure you guys smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. As far as the parlays, hit 4 of like the safe calls, but unfortunately Doglock City doesn't come through because Diniz takes an L, and then Oliveira won, so half of the lock parlay comes through for the big plus money, but it didn't happen. DGen calls took some L's. As far as the picks altogether, picked Jon Jones to win. I thought he'd get it done inside distance. I thought knockout was live, and he beats up Stipe, so good pick on that one. Had Charlie O over Chandler, got a nice W there. Thought Nickal would beat Craig, good W there. Karine Silva, of course, everybody picked her with Araujo, and then Araujo upsets her. That's a big win. Say what you want about the scorecard. I'm not going to say robbery, though. though. I don't think so. Close decision. Karine Silva looked horrible at the end. I think she deserved to lose. Ruffy winning over Llontop. I wanted a knockout. We didn't get it, but still a win. Win on this pick here with McGhee Martinez. Dumb call thinking Damon Jackson had a shot against the OG Miller. L there. Obviously David Onama wins with the pick against Romero. Yeah, Diniz, heavyweight prospect, I liked a lot. Decides to follow a black belt in jiu-jitsu to the ground, loses there. Had Mickey Gall because I didn't think he was a 7-7 fighter, but boy, was I wrong. Had an L there. Of course, I had the Welsh gangster win over Hafez, and after the weigh-ins, I thought Mora was good to go. She got it done. So overall, with the picks, 8 wins, 4 losses, I would say prediction rate, pretty quality. I hope you guys enjoyed this post-fight recap for UFC 309. I did it different than normal. I wanted to make it better. Sometimes I feel like it's too simple. Like for the fight nights, the way I do it is good. But for the pay-per-views, I want to prioritize the big fights, like the main event of the evening and then the Oliveira fight thereafter. So let me know in the comments if you like this new style of recap. I appreciate everybody for tuning in all week long. Thank you guys for the support. Smash the likes on your way out. If you're new, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the video and of the fights all together in the comments below. And do you think Jon Jones is beating Tom Aspinall, or you got Tommy Boy? I want to know. Thank you guys for watching. Much love to each and every one of you. Big W's to the people. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.